It's Chris over at Sanford Hobbytown. We're back in the shop with the XRT. In the last video, you saw the XRT literally slamming the concrete. Oh. Ooh. Oh. Oh, you hear that?
Broken.
We don't really know what exactly happened yet. We're about to take it apart and find out what happened to the vehicle and see exactly what the punishment from the skate park did to this thing. We're almost done filming, honestly, and the thing still wasn't broken yet, and I figured we had to figure out where the limit was. So as much as it hurt my soul a little bit to literally jump this thing straight flat to concrete, we had to do it. And I wasn't surprised when the gear mesh started having a little bit of issues. So I'm pretty confident that either something shifted or the gears are stripped out. I think the gears are probably stripped, which honestly is a pretty easy fix. Put that off. Aha, there we go. As you can see, the gears are pretty shredded out here. All right, and oh, all right. Looks like this just kind of flew off of there, so this thing was not very happy. The chassis probably flexed a little bit, and that's okay because the chassis is designed to flex but retain its shape. But while it was flexing, this probably shifted a little bit and ended up stripping out the teeth on here. So that's a really easy fix. Everything else honestly looks really good on here, but let's go ahead and replace these gears. I'm going to show you a really great way to clean the metal shards out of here, because when you replace these gears, you don't want any metal remaining inside here. And if you put the cover back on and you're driving it and you get one of these teeth stuck in your brand new gears, it's just going to shred again. Now on the XRT, you'll notice there is a little spacer here on the motor shaft just to keep the pinion gear in line with the spur gear, so there's no guesswork involved. So that's a nice touch. For anybody wondering out there, I can literally hear you screaming in the comments, oh, the spur gears and pinion gears strip on the x-maxx all the time. This is the same setup as the x-maxx. Okay, yes, we know sometimes these do strip out, but we were asking for it, okay? These trucks slamming against the concrete is an insane amount of force. And the fact that all that happened was that these gears stripped out, that's actually really good. This would be a good time to decide if we want to change up the gearing or if we're going to keep it stock gearing. So this is a really great way to clean the shards out of the vehicle. I have a magnet on the end of here. If you just hover the magnet over the area where all the metal shards are, you'll be able to pick up most of that, okay? And I'm just doing this on the front side here before I take anything apart, because I don't want any metal shards getting inside the transmission here, because there's a lot of grease in there, and the last thing I want is to get metal shards in the grease, because then you have a lot more cleaning work to do. And you can see already how much metal has come off onto this magnet. We've got 4 screws on here. Pull that out. We've got that out. Now you can see all the metal shards that actually ended up inside of here, and we want to make sure that we get all of that out of there, and that's where the magnet comes in. Just stick the magic magnet in here. It's, for one, incredibly satisfying. Let's stick that in here and get all that metal out of there. Oh, look at this. All right, being very careful not to get any of this where the cush drive or any of the grease was. Pull that out of there. Look at that. All right, now I'm gonna throw this directly in the trash. All right, we're gonna do another pass through here, pick up any stragglers, finish every last bit. A little bit of rubbing alcohol on here. Okay, yes, we are, this is the RC cooking show now. Our fan motor's got a little bit loose here. So I think to remedy that, I'm going to remove the heatsink off of here and bend it back inwards. I honestly don't really know how that happened. I think maybe from the impact, it got a little bit loose around the motor. So I'll just retighten that so it stays in position. Push this through.
That should have been how fast can you undo it and how fast can you reinstall them?
So yeah, she got a little chewed up, you know.
Should chew on it.
So the next thing I have to do is actually remove the motor. There's pins underneath the motor. Since I am changing the gear ratio slightly, I'm going to have to adjust where the pins are. We got the same setup as the x-maxx here,
You need me to hold?
with the exception of the fact that the screws are pretty far in these holes and it's a little dark in there. So
You need a flashlight?
you kind of need a flashlight
Hang
to
on,
see
hang on,
them.
hang on, I got this.
Put one hand here and I got one hand on the motor, and then we're just gonna see those screws fall out from the bottom into my hand. Okay, so that's 3.
So it means there's one
There,
left.
it means there's one more hiding. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. So now we've got the motor off. If you can see, we've got the pins in here. On the x-maxx, all these letters were labeled depending on what gear ratio you were planning on running. Here, Traxxas did away with that, and they just say stock, speed, and stock speed. So if you can understand what that code means, then let me know down in the comments. But basically what it means is right now they're in the D position on this side and they're in the H position on that side. And you can see that the H position is stock gearing and the D position is also stock gearing. And the XRT includes high-speed gearing in the box. So if you put the high-speed gearing on, all you need to do is move these pins from the D position to the C position and leave the H position pins where they are. So that way you can actually just do that right away. Now, we're not doing that, so I'm probably going to have to look in the instruction manual to figure out where I'm supposed to put these. Let's go ahead and try to figure that out. So we're on the Traxxas website and we're scrolling, and we're scrolling, and we're scrolling a little bit more. Man, Traxxas has a lot of trucks. Oh, no, that's the sledge. Here it is. XRT. All right, we're gonna go to support. We're gonna go exploded. We're gonna go, you're right, I don't know what I'm doing. We're gonna go to the manual. We're gonna go to English. I believe somewhere in this manual we are going to find the answer to all our questions, like what is the meaning of RC as a whole. If you ever want to learn how to use your vehicle the way Traxxas intended, this is also a really great read. You can see all the things that you're doing wrong with your Traxxas vehicle and why it breaks all the time. Here we've got the pin location chart, okay? And if you zoom in, we are going to be looking for 2054, which apparently is impossible. All right, so we got over here at the parts wall, and if I can remember what that diagram said, we're gonna go for 46, and we're going to try an 18. So let's move over to the pinion wall here.
That was back to back.
And we're gonna run an 18. 18 right there. So here we have what we're going to install in the vehicle. We've got a 46 tooth spur gear and we've got an 18 tooth pinion gear. Now the stock gear is a 50, and we're gonna go ahead and just try this gearing and just see what happens, see how it handles it. This is the high-speed gear that's included with the XRT, but I'm actually going to go a little bit shorter on the gearing on the pinion just because we've got the bigger sledgehammer tires on here. So that way we won't pull too much current on the speed controller, and I'm just interested to see what kind of performance we're going to get with this stuff. If for whatever reason I don't like it, maybe I'll switch back to the stock gearing, because I actually did really enjoy the stock gearing when we were running it at the skate park. So we've got the motor off of here, and if I can remember, it was A and E. We're not talking about the TV channel, we're talking about the pin setup. So let's go ahead and move these pins to A and these pins to letter E, and then that should get us to where we need to go. Yeah, so I'm just gonna clean a little bit of the dirt that's in here just to make sure we have a super nice mating surface. All right, try not to get any of the dirt anywhere else. Yeah, mating surface, okay. So I'm gonna clean that out real nice. Okay, and then I'm gonna get myself a pair of pliers and just pull those pins out. All right, so Kat's gonna go ahead and
So what do
move
I
the
do?
pins where they need to go.
So do I go from the
So
top or
A&E,
from the
remember,
side?
A&E.
I know, but do I go from the
A&E
top?
or is it MTV? I forget. There you go.
Yeah, and then can I just put it in?
A.
Oh, that's easy.
Nice. A.
And E.
And E.
Oh yeah. Need wrench on these things.
Very nice, very nice.
Considering I can usually only change
All right, and then just give them a little push on, well, no, with the pliers. Just keep the pliers closed.
Oh.
Okay. And then just push down on them, make sure they're seated. Don't need to push too hard. Just make sure they're all where they need to be. Okay.
Look at that. I did it.
Nice. Just a note here, okay? If there's any hardcore x-maxx owners out there, some people eliminate the pin setup in here and then they adjust the mesh manually. And I've done that before, and it definitely works. But the pin setup for me personally also works. I've never really had any issues with it. If you are constantly bashing your vehicle to the point where you're almost trying to break it all the time, the pin setup might not get the mesh as close as it can possibly get, so that could maybe be a good option for you. But for me, I've never really had an issue with the pin setup, so I'm just gonna keep utilizing that setup. We're gonna have to remove the front motor mount slightly just to get it off. I'm gonna pull that off temporarily, and then that will allow us to pull the heatsink off of here. We'll try not to pull on the wires. All right, and then on the inside here, you'll notice the temperature sensor with the thermal tape on there. All right, we want to make sure not to interfere with that too much here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze the heatsink here. And now, and I would probably recommend doing this anyway, just to make sure you got a nice snug fit on the motor so this thing doesn't slide back and forth and hurt anything. All right, we're gonna slide that back on there. Just like that. Okay.
So you gotta put that thing back on.
And then we gotta put the cover back on, and luckily it's keyed on here so that way you don't have to worry about what direction it goes. Just remember to hold the motor so it stays in position. And a really good question is why I'm doing this with the batteries in, because it makes it a lot heavier to move around, but for some reason I didn't take them out, which I would definitely recommend doing. Get these all, just get the threads started here. There we go. Excellent. Motor's back in position. All right, let's get this gear on here. Ooh, perfect fit. 3. Let's get this thing reassembled here. We've got the pin. Oops. That's why we have a pit mat, so that the pin doesn't bounce around and then you lose it. You can't find it for the rest of time until you're not looking for it, and then you find it randomly. I'm gonna hold the bearing with one finger, and then
That goes in there.
ouch. I'm gonna feed it through here. Align the bearings in the recess of the chassis. Push it down. Ah, ow, my finger, it's stuck.
Why don't you go through the top?
I can't fit through there either.
Here, I got
Hold on,
small
hold on.
fingers.
All right, then we're gonna get this cover back on there. Get it pressed down here so it's seated nicely. Okay, everything's moving freely. Good. Next up, let's just get those screws started, one here. I'm gonna do a bit of a cross pattern just to make sure that this is getting tied down equally, and you wanna be really careful not to strip out these screws because these screws are threaded into the rear bulkhead, and if you strip them, you have to replace the entire rear bulkhead, and if they do end up getting stripped, then you have issues where the spur gear starts moving around, and then you'll just continually keep stripping these out. So we just wanna make sure that we don't ever have that issue. I'm just gonna keep them snug, but not too tight. Get that started on here, and then you'll see the sleeve actually allows the pinion to be aligned just right with the spur gear. So that way everything stays nice and tight without any issue. So everything's sounding absolutely crispy and beautiful again. Just like that. And then we'll screw that down and we should be good as new here. All right. Ooh. It's quite peppy. It's nice. Very nice. All right, so there you have it. Everything's good as new here. So yeah, the XRT is a beast. We really punished this thing in the last video, and honestly, I felt kind of bad when we were doing it. The only thing that really happened was just the gear stripped out, just because it hit so hard on the concrete that those gears might have gone out of mesh a little bit. But it's all set, ready to go for the next bash. So we will see you in the next video.